Good evening. Good evening. Meeting's about to start. Thank you. Good evening. Please silence all electronic devices for the duration of the meeting. Welcome to the September 9th, 2024 Finance and Audit Committee meeting. I'm Councilmember Gil Schussler, and I'm the Finance and Audit Committee Chair. The meeting format is hybrid. The quorum is physically present at the HART Administrative Offices, 1201 East 7th Avenue, Florida Conference Room, and the rest of the board members are participating via communication media technology. If everybody would please look at your screen of your devices. An image of the flag is displayed. Please join me if you can in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please excuse my voice. We will now accept public comment. Is there anyone signed up to this? Appear to be no one signed up to speak. Is there anyone present in the audience that wishes to speak at this time? Appearing to be none. This concludes the public input section of the meeting. In your packets were the minutes from the August 19, 2024 Finance and Audit Committee meeting. If everybody's had a chance to look at it, if there's a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, excuse me, we have a motion to second. All in favor, please by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion passes. The presentations tonight will be on the, first one will be on the Route 1 service improvements. The first presentation will be from Mr. Justin Willits, Director of Planning and Scheduling of Route 1 service improvements. Chair Vieira has sent a memo regarding a motion by the Tampa City Council to support expanded services with a fare-free program for Route 1. He has also requested the matter be brought before the Finance and Audit Committee at today's meeting. Chair Vieira, do you have any comments, sir?
And thank you for that, sir. I'll wait until after the presentation, but thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Willits, you are recognized.
Good evening, Justin Willits, Director of Planning and Scheduling, here to present the city-requested Route 1 service improvements. There was some information in your packet that kind of set this up a little bit, so I will be brief and take any questions after I advance the slides successfully. Okay, so Route 1, Florida Avenue. Why Route 1? This original inquiry came through Johnny Wong at the TPO asking for some information about the fare box return and the service of Route 1. And then we received a request from the City of Tampa City Council motion to have a HART representative come present a fare-free frequent service. But again, why Route 1? It is the future BRT and streetcar extension corridor, which are two of the top TPO transit priorities. There's a strong connection between the existing Route 1 and the streetcar. It's the highest transfer from bus to streetcar in the network based on a recent survey completed. It connects 70% of our bus network. Route 1 touches 70% of our service. Better service and faster speeds are other reasons this was of interest to the City Council. Within a quarter mile of Route 1, there are 32,000 residents, 56,000 jobs. If you expand that to a half a mile, that basically doubles to 64,000 residents and 100,000 jobs. 18% of the households within a quarter mile, and that's generally the transit industry standard, is why we use a quarter mile. 18% do not own a vehicle, 26% are under the poverty line, 64% are minority, and 14% have a disability. So the proposal as requested was to increase the frequency to 15 minutes all day on the weekday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We cost that out. It's about 15 hours of revenue service. We multiply that by our most recent fully allocated cost of 166 hours and come up with a $639,000 annual cost for the increase in service. To make it fare-free, which was one of the requests of council, we calculated the fare box revenue that was generated last year based off of 1.1 million riders at an average return of 74 cents per rider. That's because of the way we do fare capping, which I think most of you know about, so I won't elaborate on unless someone would like me to. And that total amount is just shy of 1.5 million. The estimated impact is both a product of the increase in frequency, which means it should attract more riders, and the decrease in fare, which we estimate at an impact of 300,000 additional annual trips. And that is the proposal just as we presented it to City Council, and we are here today. The next steps for staff, we are looking at impacts for paratransit. We are going, if this is approved, we would have to provide complimentary paratransit within the boundary of the route for origins and destinations, trips completely contained in that boundary. So we're working to refine those numbers, and we will present that to council as well. But other than that, this is the proposal they've requested, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Any comments or questions?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Willis. Question regarding after 6 p.m. on weekdays. Does our number of routes, are they significantly lower? Is that why we stopped at 6 p.m.?
We kind of phase down the frequency from 15 minutes to 30 minutes, and then to hourly, the later we go. So that's generally how our demand works. It's a one big hump rather than two peaks, as you see in a lot of major metros. With a peak rush hour, it's more of a constant peak, which is why when we do operate frequent service, it's throughout the entire weekday.
Okay, for Route 1 specifically?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, Route 1, Route 400, all of the routes that are
Okay.
around 15 to 20 minutes kind of have that same constant frequency throughout the middle of the day.
Okay, thank you. And then on weekends, do we have similar trends, or are they significantly lower?
The ridership is lower, but the demand is similar. It's midday. And most of the frequent 15 to 20 minute routes on the weekend are 30 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, sir, for your work on this. What I wanted to do is to be able to get a sense of the committee and the board. I know that, the board as a whole isn't going to be meeting until, question, when is our next proper board meeting?
September 23rd.
Okay, good, so it's coming up. Okay, yeah. So I support this. I supported this. There's a lot more scrutiny applied to this, obviously, on Tampa City Council, I think, than there is here, and I'll explain that. This passed by one vote on Tampa City Council. I wanted to salute Councilwoman Hurtak, who is the one who brought this forward, and I think this was a fine idea. When she first discussed it prospectively as an idea a little bit ago, I said I'm favorably inclined towards it, and then I supported it at first reading of the budget. And I said this, and I'd urge y'all to watch the portion of the budget hearing that talks about this. I said I'd be very surprised if the HART board didn't support this, and so this is why. And I want to hear if there's any objections or anything of that nature. This is something that supports more money for HART, for our operations that we all support, without putting HART in any fiscal jeopardy. Or without raising taxes, without further burdening people in Hillsborough County for the mission that we all support. This supports the people who use the HART bus. And this particular route is something that's very important. Going down Florida, down to USF, you're going to hit the university area, you're going to hit near where the VA is, you're going to hit USF, and you're going to hit everything in between, and to be able to connect it and make life easier, most importantly, for the folks who use that route. And again, without any further fiscal burden on Hillsborough County taxpayers whatsoever. And given the fact that it's a test pilot program, in no way puts HART in any sort of fiscal risk. Mr. Willis had talked about the paratransit. And a question for you, sir. Do we have a rough estimate of how much is that going to be? 150? Do you know? Rough estimate, if you could say.
At this point, the estimate's probably around six figures. Mm-hmm. So I think it probably lands between 150 and 200,000. Okay. But it's very specific. My folks are actually working on it right now. Mm-hmm. But they're looking at the points in between that buffer, and ours is a little bigger than the standard ADA buffer, so it's a little bigger of an area than it otherwise would be for the federal requirements. So that might add a little cost, but.
Yeah. And thank you for that. So I would state right here, and again, we don't have another council meeting until coming up with a budget, I believe it's about a week or so, that either I, myself, or Councilman Hurtak, I obviously haven't spoken to her about it because of sunshine, but I imagine would motion to have the city take that up. I would motion it if nobody else would, because again, I want to make sure that this is something that HART takes without any further fiscal burden whatsoever. But again, this is something that moves forward our mission and something that we all agree on, which is making life easier for the people that take the HART bus every single day. This puts City of Tampa tax dollars to that. The City of Tampa gives a lot of money to the streetcar, and like I said in the hearing, a lot of the folks who tend to use the streetcar, not everybody, but they tend to be a little bit more affluent than folks who ride the bus, or so I think. This is something that puts our tax dollars on the side of people who go to work every day and are everyday working families, and I strongly support it. I'd urge y'all to watch the city council hearing to talk about how we got to where we were at. Like I said in the larger meeting, there were some caustic comments on the HART board that I did not take well. I really like our board, and I think we do a good job with what we have walked into when we've dealt with so many different issues, from changing CEOs, challenges of workers, COVID, challenges from Tallahassee and us working with our friends in Tallahassee. And I think we've done that all on a collegial, collaborative basis, and we'll continue to do that. So that's all. But I just wanted to give my 2 cents on it, and I'll stop talking. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions. Hello?
Hold on, David, I'll be to you in a second.
Thanks. I'm not going to get into trying to micromanage city council on what they do with their money. If the money comes here, the money comes here. What I'm worried about and interested in, if it does come to us, I don't want an answer tonight because it might be a wasted conversation if they don't figure out the paratransit numbers you mentioned. I want to just make sure that when it's presented to us, that it's clearly demonstrating what kind of protections are in place if we're monitoring the ridership, if the increases aren't there, and if there's going to be an economic downfall of this 1.5 million not lasting a year. I want to make sure that we have a plan in place that doesn't set a lot of people up, and then that money runs out, and then the emotional heartstrings come in and people start prying on our very delicate, structured property taxes that we're barely back in the black on. That's all that I really care about, is that when it's presented, there is no financial risk to the organization HART that would expose it if we don't meet the ridership numbers that are projected. That's all that I really care about, is that when it comes back, that it's very clear that there's some type of program management that's going on, tracking these numbers, tracking the riderships, and saying, hey, we estimate that this is going to sunset, that we're having to subsidize it maybe more than we thought. It's not generating the ridership, and we need to sunset it at 10 months instead of 12, and that we're properly notifying people who might have started to depend on that, and notify the appropriate parties that, hey, if you don't come up by money this date, vice this date, I don't want to set people up for failure. That is my biggest concern on a plan like this. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question. Is it fair to say that this is basically a demonstration project that the City of Tampa is offering to pay for the purposes of developing this route and to determine what the possibility or the potential of it would be over the next year from whatever the inception date is? Is that a fair summation?
I think he's pointing that at Councilman Vieira.
May I, Mr. Chair?
Please.
Thank you very much. So I'll tell you what, and thank you for that, Board Member King. My opinion on this is a demonstration program which seeks to fund improvements, enhanced service on this particular route through the City of Tampa. I voted for it because it is a city responsibility that it's taking on with no additional fiscal impact for HART. Commissioner, Board Member Wosel's comments were, I think, very, very well taken. And so I don't see this as being any sort of an expectation or anything of that nature on HART. This is something that is uniquely tailored and narrowly tailored to be a city allowance. As far as I see it, I wasn't the maker of the motion, but that's as I understand it, and that was the rationale that I used in voting for it. I hope that answers your question.
I think so.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Director Hartfield, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kind of piggybacking on what Commissioner Wostell shared, my biggest concern would be how do we manage expenses? I think it's a great idea, but how do we manage expenses? We're basing our projections on numbers that we haven't worked with before, correct?
No, I would say the projections are off of hard data and costs
Okay.
we already incurred in previous years for
Okay.
the operating expense, the projected revenue, and then the potential costs have all been factored in.
So we have tolerance built into our numbers, some level of tolerance?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
If we're projecting 1.5 million, maybe we should have an additional tolerance of 10% in those numbers, just in case that 1.5 million doesn't get us to the end.
Well, so that's why we use our fully allocated costs to make
Okay.
sure that we're covering every potential expense per revenue hour. So that's a
Okay.
big reason there.
Okay.
The fare box return was used off of last year's data.
Okay.
So that covers all of that. And then what we're going to do with the paratransit trips is we've got some peer agencies that we're waiting to hear back from because they've done similar pilots for fare-free bus service. So we know what kind of growth rate, once we get their information, we'll know what kind of growth rate to apply to the potential paratransit trips. So we can estimate an increase in paratransit demand based off of the trips we're already seeing as well. So I would say that is, yes. So I just wanted to clarify what you meant by tolerance, sorry.
That's a good question. And finally, I would be concerned if we started offering this great service to the general public, but more importantly, to our developmentally, intellectually, or physically disabled community, and then it sunsets in 12 months. So I would like for us to have some type of plan where we think about the end in mind. So after 12 months, what does the end look like? And how do we communicate that to the intellectually, developmentally, and physically disabled? That you have a tremendous amount of support in the community, and then the sunsets, and that may not bring a lot of positive attention for the organization or the city. So maybe we should plan in terms of how we communicate this with the end in mind.
Thank
My
you.
thoughts.
Director Mechanic?
Yes, thank you. Following up on what Commissioner King just said, that's my primary concern. The city, no government is going to commit to a perpetual subsidy. So what happens in a year or two or three? The city says, well, we're not funding this anymore. We don't have the money, whatever the reason. What is it that we tell people when the service either terminates or we have to start charging a fare again? I mean, I just feel like we're creating false expectations here that we're not addressing with this proposal. So I'd like somebody to comment on that.
Chair Vieira?
Thank
I
you,
have
sir.
other,
Oh,
would like
Go
somebody
ahead.
to comment on.
you had other questions?
Yeah, but I'd like to hear the answer to that first.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Board Member Mechanic. My view of that is that, number one, this fund's demonstrated needs. This is a need. I'm actually, I'll be honest, because I have no filter sometimes, I'm actually glad the paratransit issue came up, because literally a couple of days ago, I was telling CEO Drainville, I said, boy, I wish I would have brought up something on paratransit, just being honest, and everything. So number one, this fund's demonstrated needs, but there's a different lens that you can look at things, and there's a different analysis that you can have. You can look at it in one way, which is when we provide this need, what's going to happen when we cut it off? The flip side to this is, what happens if we don't provide it in the first place and we have up to a year of funds that make people's lives easier who are disabled or who are lower income and working full-time every single day? That's the analysis that I think we should have, which is, this is money that's coming towards us. that we don't have to pay anything for, that funds up to a year of demonstrated needs for people who have real needs, and without this, their lives are going to be much tougher, and we have to have a good landing for this once these funds run out. I think that's the analysis to have, which is we're thankful for the money. It's going to fund a demonstrated need, but man, this could run out in a year because you never want to depend on something for the future, right? So how do we bring that in for a landing? I think that's a discussion to have. I don't think that the landing, the potential end of this money for up to a year should in any way dissuade us from accepting the money, especially if it's going to a need and not a want. We talk about people with disabilities, right? They obviously have critical needs that I feel are being ignored. This helps them for up to a year. So for us to, and I'm not saying anybody's saying this, but for us to potentially say, we're going to give back the money because it's going to end. And we're going to feel bad telling people that we're going to have to say no after a year, and instead we're just going to say no, period, to money that wouldn't cost us anything. I'd ask the board to consider which one is the more compassionate route to take. So I guess that's my answer, if all of that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. Director Mechanic, you had other questions?
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I guess my only response to that would be, we really, if we go forward with this, we need to be very upfront in terms of the communication that this free service is going to end in a year or could end in a year. We have to be very, very honest and straightforward with our passengers to make sure that they understand that it's not a permanent service. Just a couple of other questions. Or actually just comment. I would just like to make sure that, just like the paratransit cost was, it sounds to me, based on the conversation, that was a little bit of a surprise, and people weren't aware that was going to be a cost. I would just like to make sure that there aren't other hidden costs that we don't know about right now that will enter the picture, and I don't want to find out 3 months from now or 6 months from now that there are additional expenses that the city says, well, we didn't know about it, we don't want to pay it, and HART winds up holding the bag on that. So I just want to make sure that we cover any expenses up on the front end of this thing. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Justin, you had a comment you want to make?
No, I was just going to say in response to the how we communicate the beginning and the end of this program has been something we talked about at the staff level as recently as today. So the same time we tell them that this may start, we tell them when it will end. And we have some strategies for that, and we can bring that back to the full board if this moves. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely like to hear about that.
Director Williams, you were next.
Thank you. I just want to say that Route 1, I think, is a great opportunity to delight customers who actually use our service. We took a ride on Route 1, and those are the customers that are the most vocal, and they have the highest number of experiences, good and some bad. So this is an opportunity for us to delight a number of our customers that are riding the bus, and they're going to get it free of charge. And I say that because the second aspect is we should utilize the data, of which I know you will, Mr. Willis, for a business case for future initiatives. When we look at what we need to do going forward, and we'll have the hard data to say who's using the service, how the need, and if we need to continue, or at least we can start preparing ourselves for the opportunity if it were to be $1.5 more million. But if people are using the service and it's our largest largest route, or I think we have to do something about it. And I think Commissioner Wolsel, you talk about on a regular basis, those services that we don't have enough people on the routes. So if there's an opportunity, we take a hard look at ourselves and say, we'd rather spend money where people are. Those are the hard choices we're going to have to make for an initiative such as this. And then, as we stated, we're going to use guardrails. We'll make sure that we do what's right financially and have the acumen necessary to move forward. And then the other is communication. And I know we talked about communication from a Route 1 standpoint, but I'm concerned with the 70% that didn't touch. So what does that mean for someone coming off another route onto Route 1? And I think they need just as much communication as those folks on Route 1. So thank you very much.
Director King, you were next. Vice Chair King.
Thank you, sir. Let me just say, I'm not opposed to this at all. I think it's a great opportunity. And if it proves successful, then we will have added a benefit to the community that needs it. But I think we need to be clear-eyed about what happens a year, 2 years from now, and how we wind it down if we get to a point where it's not as successful as we would like it to be.
Okay,
Thank you.
any other
I'm just clarifying my previous comment.
Understood. I have a couple of comments. Again, some of this has already been touched on. It's like, what do we do after the first year? But I do have a question. Does the 15 minutes, not the free fare, but does the 15 minutes take us back to pre-COVID or pre-Mission Max?
So actually, the reduction to 20 was something we did about 6 to 8 months ago.
Okay.
To do some scheduling tweaking.
Okay.
So bumping it back up is an improvement. But this was one of the few routes that was back at pre-COVID levels.
Okay, but
Basically.
15 minutes, was that pre-Mission Max by any chance?
No, this was one of the rare routes that went from, I think, 20 to 15
Okay.
during Mission Max.
Okay, all right. I think that this is an excellent opportunity to showcase what it will be to get us back to pre-COVID levels and maybe even someday pre-Mission Max levels to where we were several years ago. Granted, that year's going to go very, very quickly. And before we know it, we're going to be back here with what are we going to do next. So the entry and exit communication is going to be absolutely critical on how we deal with that, as well as hopefully the city will see the benefit from it and hopefully want to continue it going forward, as well as other aspects within the city, so that it might prove more beneficial, as to Director Williams' point, the potentials that we can expand on this. Anyway, having said that, I think it's something that we, being cost neutral to HART, I trust your allocation numbers on your expenses. The only fuzzy number we have right this minute is the paratransit portion. And that's something that's going to have to be, solidified, but that's going to take some time to do that. I think our next step is, we don't necessarily need to approve it here, but I think we technically move things to the board meeting for approval.
And yes, sir. And so that's my question is, if there is a motion forward, and I'm not a member of this committee, but I would suggest, because I'm hearing concerns on fiscal guardrails, which is great. I think that's wonderful. But with making sure that 100% of this is paid for by the city and making sure that what dictates this benefit isn't the time, but the money that is allocated, right? So if as I think Board Member Wosel said, if the money runs out in 10 months and 28 days, then that's the benefit. What dictates is not the time, but the money allocated. So if there is a motion, I think it would be wise to send a message to the board that when we approve this, it needs to have these guardrails, and that the paratransit is paid for by the city of Tampa, which, as I understand it, will not exceed over $200,000. Again, I don't, call me naive, which I am, I don't foresee that being a problem in council. But yeah, so if there is a motion, I think that should accompany that.
When does council meet again on this issue?
The budget is, I should really know this, I believe in a week and a half. Let me
Okay, so
check.
it'll be before our board meeting.
I believe so.
Okay,
Yes,
do
let
we
me check.
need, Mr. do we need formal, what do we do?
This is not on for an action item, this is on for a presentation. That being said, what you can do is go ahead and make a motion to have this item include, if you want to include the presentation, or include a discussion of the city council actions onto the board meeting, which is on the 23rd, and that way you would have that as an item for you to take up at that board meeting.
Okay. And do we, yes.
Oh, and I'm sorry.
That's all right.
And I don't, so we meet, I believe it is on the 17th.
17th.
So it's a couple of days before the next HART meeting. So yes, if I'm reading people right here, and I don't want to put words in people's mouth, there is support from committee members. I know that some are here just to listen. But that's the impression that I get, but I just want to make sure if no vote's going to be taken.
Correct.
Well, as I said, if you would like to go ahead and, as a committee, request that this item be placed on the board agenda for further discussion on the 23rd, and a report back of what the city council action is, then you can have another discussion at that point in time. I don't know what action item there would be. I imagine that, assuming that city council goes ahead and allocates the money, there will need to be some kind of interlocal agreement or other agreement with the county in order to, move the funds from the county budget over to here. I haven't been involved in the how you get there once the allocation occurs and what action would be on your part, but certainly moving this to your regular board agenda for a discussion and for some consensus on moving forward with this item after a city council takes their action as part of their budget would be appropriate.
I agree, and I think we should move this forward. So we tend to take a motion to move this forward to the next board meeting for further discussion.
So moved.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
May I have a suggestion,
Yes, sir.
If I may, and thank you, and I'm gone after this, so I won't bother you guys anymore. But maybe a sense of the board that city council should also create fiscal guardrails on this for HART, because I'm hearing that
Yes.
from members, and I want to be as amenable as I can, that again, what dictates is money, not time, and that zero HART dollars would be appropriated to this, because that's the intent, so.
Miss Kirk would have a heart attack if we did anything other than that, so, yes. Voted.
I think in addition to what Louis mentioned in regards to the fiscal guardrails, equally as important is the communication strategy. Yeah.
And if I could just
Please.
parse that so we know exactly what the end action is. It sounds, and you could take this action if you would like, that there is some consensus among the members of the committee that Mr. Vieira would be in a comfortable position if he made those statements at Tampa City Council as to what the expectation could be, at least out of this committee at this time, and then potentially out of the board once that item goes. It would really just be a consensus, because there's no authority to direct that happens. But as chair of the board and as a discussion of this committee, I think that would be appropriate.
Does anybody disagree with that assessment?
I'm
Director
concerned,
Mechanic?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I'm concerned we don't have the numbers back on paratransit. So it's kind of ambiguous. What are we moving forward? A best case scenario or our best judgment?
Well,
Please,
but
please.
could I speak to this?
Please, David, go ahead.
I'm not sure it has to be all that complicated. I mean, if the city initiated this, the city wants it, I think we can respond by saying to the city, we agree, we will do this, but the city needs to agree to bear all the costs associated with this endeavor. I mean, the agreement between HART and the city can state that the city has to
Keep us
be the
whole.
backstop for any and all costs associated with the project.
I would agree with that. To Ms. Mandel's point, there's still a lot that has to be done to to dot all the i's and cross all the t's between any MOUs between the city and HART on this issue. And by that time, hopefully, we'll have our numbers a little less fuzzy for the paratransit. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Vieira, have we included the expense of the communication strategy in our numbers, Justin?
I don't believe so. I don't know what number that would be on. I mean, again, the intent of this is that HART bears no financial burden. And I would agree with what Board Member Mechanic said, that any paratransit issue, again, it's the city of Tampa that started the, set the train going off on this, and they're gonna, bear the burden on it, which I don't think is gonna be much. Is a communication strategy on the end of this, is that a relevant fiscal impact whatsoever on HART? And that is a great question, so.
Please.
Good evening, committee. Jackie Halto, Chief Administrative Officer. I also have marketing and communications under me. And I also have the good fortune of being at a transit agency that had a fare free program legislated by the state legislature. And I think the communication strategy would probably be de minimis, a small amount of money, because a lot of it would mostly be onboard announcements, which would be free of cost to HART, and then use the destination signage and social media.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Very
I
good.
could follow up.
Any other discussion?
Just one thing, if you.
Oh, I'm sorry. CEO.
And I would say, if this does come to fruition, that, my preference would be, is have staff to look through all the logistics to find there's no surprises and to establish a timeline of the calendar year. So we have a few months to go through everything, make sure, all the logistics are taken care of, there's no hidden expenses, and before we even put this into play, and then the preference would be to use the calendar year from January to December. So that would be my recommendation.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? Chair Vieira, you have enough information to go back to council?
Yes, I do. So I'll summarize this, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm hearing from this committee is that there is support for this program so long as all of the costs on it are borne by the city of Tampa, and what will define the benefit is not the time, but the amount of money that's available. Is that correct?
I think that's a
And
fair
we want
assumption.
fiscal guardrails in the contract between HART and the city of Tampa.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. I appreciate everybody.
Thank you. Okay, moving forward, the next on the agenda is a committee action item or presentation for further review by the committee for recommendation or approval to the full Board of Directors. Item 5A, to recommend to the HART Board of Directors authorize the CEO to award a contract to, is it Cleaver or Clever? Clever Devices Limited for the computer-aided dispatch and automatic vehicle location, CAD AVL, and scheduling intelligent transportation system with a 5-year annual maintenance agreement for fixed route and streetcar in the amount of $6,141,144 with a contingency of $541,742 for a total not to exceed amount of $6,682,886. Mr. Drainville, you're recognized to provide an overview of this item and to introduce the presentation.
Thank you, Chair. This action item was presented at the previous August Finance and Audit Committee meeting. Staff has reviewed the meeting and the minutes to ensure that all questions and requests for additional information are captured in this presentation. Mr. Sean McCarthy will present on this presentation.
Good evening, Committee Chair Schisler, members of the committee, and CEO Drainville. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. The original purpose of tonight's presentation was to provide additional requested information and answer specific questions from members of the HART Finance and Audit Committee following our CAD AVL presentation at the August 19th meeting. Noting that there are additional members of the board here this evening, I will do my best to provide a more fuller context, as this will be an action item at the September 23rd board meeting. To help frame the importance of replacing the computer-aided dispatch and automatic vehicle system, which is commonly referred to in the transit agency as CAD AVL, I'd like to use an analogy that might make the CAD AVL's importance a little more clearer. If you could think of the current CAD AVL system as the nervous system of the body, just as the nervous system is critical for transmitting signals and coordinating responses throughout the body, Our CAD AVL system is essential for the seamless operation and communication within our transit system. Just as the nervous system helps the body react quickly and efficiently to changes in our environment, our CAD AVL system ensures that we can respond to real-time conditions, manage operations smoothly, and deliver the highest level of service to our riders. The system processes and relays information, making sure that every part of our transit network operates in harmony, akin to how our nervous system keeps our body functioning as a cohesive whole. Replacing the CAD AVL system will enhance the crucial backbone, ensuring even better coordination and efficiency in our operations. In the coming slides, I look forward to discussing how this replacement will benefit our entire system. As we discuss the importance of replacing our CAD AVL system, it's helpful to understand the distinct functions that these components perform and how they contribute to our overall operations. For CAD, computer-aided dispatch, the system performs several functions. Computer-aided dispatch assigns and tracks vehicle assignments dynamically, ensuring that each vehicle is optimally utilized based on current conditions and operator availability. Computer-aided dispatch logs and manages incidents such as delays, accidents, and service disruptions, allowing us to respond swiftly and minimize impacts to customer service. Computer-aided dispatch also facilitates seamless communication between dispatchers and drivers, enabling effective coordination and quick resolution of issues. For AVL, Automatic Vehicle Locator, the system provides essential capabilities such as offering real-time location data for every vehicle in our fleet, allowing us to monitor route adherence and schedule compliance accurately. Automatic Vehicle Locator generates alerts when vehicles enter or exit predefined areas, which help in managing service boundaries and ensuring adherence to designated routes. It also collects valuable data on vehicle performance, such as speed and deviations from planned routes, which aids in optimizing operations and maintenance. Understanding these functions highlights how the CAD AVL replacement will enhance our ability to manage and coordinate transit services effectively. HART's current CAD AVL system relies on outdated technology that does not support many of the latest advancement in transit management. Our legacy analog system, which was procured in 2006, often lacks compatibility with modern devices and software, which limits HART's innovation as well as our ability to procure key components. The hardware and infrastructure supporting the current system are outdated, and replacement parts and technical support for obsolete equipment becomes challenging and costly as the years go by. The existing system has limitations in providing real-time data and accurate vehicle tracking, leading to inefficiencies in route management and service delivery. This can impact customer satisfaction and overall service reliability. This service replacement will enhance the accuracy of bus arrival predictions, improving the reliability of service and customer satisfaction. It will also provide real-time detour information, allow for quicker adjustments and better communication of route changes to both drivers and customers. Additionally, the replacement system will ensure that layovers and break times are managed more effectively, contributing to better scheduling and improved employee satisfaction. The replacement CAD AVL system will offer a more intuitive and user-friendly interface, enhancing the overall experience for both customers and employees. Streamlined processes and improved communication tools will contribute to a more efficient and pleasant work environment. Following a thorough and competitive procurement process, we recommend the Clever Devices CAD AVL system as the ideal replacement for our current system. Here are the key components of the proposed solution. The replacement system will include hardware. The Clever Devices CAD AVL system will come with state-of-the-art hardware. This includes modern vehicle-mounted units and robust data collection devices that will enhance our ability to monitor and manage our fleet effectively. HART will acquire the Clever Devices software operating license, which will provide us with access to their advanced CAD AVL software. This software is renowned for its reliability, user-friendly interface, and comprehensive features that will greatly improve our dispatch and tracking capabilities. Clever Devices will provide 24/7 maintenance support and updates for the next 5 years. This support includes timely troubleshooting, system updates and upgrades, ensuring that our system remains current with the latest technological advancement and performs at its best. The combination of cutting-edge hardware, advanced software, and comprehensive support will significantly enhance our operational efficiency, improve service reliability, and ultimately provide a better experience for both our customers and our employees. I'm pleased to share that we have secured full federal funding for our CAD/AVL replacement project amounting to $10.1 million. This funding comes from the 5307 Federal Highway Administration funds specifically allocated for the replacement of the CAD/AVL system. It is important to note that these funds can only be directed towards the replacement of the CAD/AVL system and its associated costs. Any remaining funds will be allocated to the acquisition of a new radio system, which will further enhance our communication capabilities. The urgency of this project cannot be overstated. Our current CAD/AVL system has reached the end of its useful life, and its limitations are increasingly impacting our operational efficiency and service reliability. Again, the new system is crucial to ensure that we continue to provide the highest quality service and maintain effective management of our transit operations. On the August 19th committee meeting, and this is in direct response to Director Williams' query during that meeting, we discussed the return on investment with the implementation of a replacement system. Return on investment can be best illustrated by estimating cost savings that this replacement system will bring. Our projections indicate financial benefits across several key areas. If you refer to the chart on this slide 7, it provides a snapshot of the estimated savings across key functions. And just to look at this chart quickly, these are all systems that we currently use that will either go away or will be significantly diminished with the rollout of the new Clever system. And you can see the associated savings initially at a 3-year mark and at a 5-year mark. Additionally, we anticipate savings in maintenance and fuel cost due to improved system efficiency and vehicle performance. The new CAD/AVL system will optimize routes, reduce fuel consumption, and lower overall maintenance expenses. As part of the procurement, and this is in response to questions by Director Knight at our last meeting, HART has requested a price list for potential future purchases or additional features for the system. This is to ensure that we are prepared for any additional needs or upgrades subject to the availability of funds. And this chart lays out a few of the additional features that would be available for procurement in the future, should we choose to exercise them, and most importantly, should we have the funding to pay for them. It is important to note that the additional features beyond the replacement system base are not included in the additional proposal. These features are separate and would require additional funding. Clever Devices has indicated that the pricing provided in their proposal is valid for a period of 5 months. We should account for potential inflation or cost adjustments beyond this period when planning our budget. HART can use the provided pricing index as a baseline for future budgeting exercises. This will help us in planning and forecasting cost for any additional features or future system expansion of CAD/AVL. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we recommend the Clever Device CAD/AVL system as the ideal replacement for our current system. This slide provides a quick snapshot of where the Clever system is being utilized across the country, both at larger transit properties and properties more analogous or similar to HART here in Florida. Their proven record makes them a strong choice for our needs. Some procurement details. The procurement details were released on December 1st, 2023, were accessible via the HART website, Demand Star, and Bonfire. to ensure wide visibility. We use a best value procurement approach to evaluate proposals on overall value, not just cost. The final recommended solution cost $6,682,886, reflecting our commitment to obtaining a high-quality, cost-effective system. A best value procurement process allows us to select vendors based on the overall value they offer rather than solely on the lowest bid. This approach is designed to ensure that we get the most beneficial solution for our needs, considering factors such as quality, performance, and long-term benefits. As part of this process, we have the flexibility to negotiate with vendors to secure the best possible price. This means that after evaluating proposals based on their merits, we can engage in discussions to refine and improve the offer, ensuring that we achieve the best value for our investment. In this case, our final cost of $6,682,886 reflects this negotiated process, where we've worked to align the cost with the exceptional value and quality provided by the Clever device system. This approach ensures that we are not only getting a competitive price, but also the best solution to meet our operational needs and improve the customer experience. The committee action item is to recommend the HART Board of Directors to authorize the Chief Executive Officer to award a contract to Clever Devices Limited for the computer-aided dispatch, automatic vehicle location, and scheduling intelligent transportation system with a 5-year annual maintenance agreement for fixed route and streetcar in the amount of $5,417,419, plus a contingency of $541,742 for a total not to exceed amount of $6,682,886. I'd be happy to answer any questions from the committee.
Thank you for your presentation. Do we have any questions or comments from committee members?
Thank you, Mr. McCartney.
Ms.
Thank you.
Williams.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McCartney, for following up so quickly. I appreciate the information you've shared here. I was just curious, the $6 million that we are discussing now, is that outside of the $2 million that we'll save? You mentioned $2 million, let's see, on page 7, $2.7 million.
So those 2.7, right, so that the 2.798 would be over the course of the next 5 years, what we would have spent to keep our, I don't want to call it degrading, but our obsolete system up and functioning. So those costs will all go away. So theoretically, that would come out of the total, the 6.6 million total.
Okay, that's great, thank you. And the other, one other point, we didn't talk about safety, but I was on the bus and I threw my hand up, we need this right away. So I am an advocate for it. And there was a safety feature because I believe the bus driver was
Covert alarm.
using the alarm and trying to do those things at the same time that they were driving and so forth. So there is an immediate need for this, and safety is not part of the key performance metric, but I think it probably should be.
I agree. We get, I think, caught up so much in the kind of the scheduling efficiency and the dispatching efficiency, but there's a tremendous amount of emergency response augmentation that we're going to see as a result of this that we don't currently have. So you're absolutely correct.
Thank you. And last question, PSTA. I wonder what they charged PSTA for the system.
I honestly don't know.
I think, I'd like for us, I don't know if we can do that, but you don't have to look at it now, but I just wonder if we're in the same area, we utilize the same systems, is it, I mean, $6.6 million, I wonder what their charge was for using the Clever system.
And I can say I have many conversations with the CEO at PSCA, so I can talk to him about that. So.
I just think it should be a negotiation tool. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Vice Chair King, you were next, and then Director Knight.
Just a quick question, sir. Thank you. All in, everything you've outlined would fall within the $10 million federal grant?
Correct. 10.1,
So basically, it's a pass-through for us.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Director
Yes,
Knight?
and thanks for the presentation. Mine was pretty much the same question on, was the grant supported? And also the system, I think you did put out there, and that was the company that you want to do it is very thorough and, you know, and also that the system can be compatible, where some of the stuff we have can be put in there.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Director
Thank
Knight?
you, Sean, for the presentation. So I was looking at the cost of the warranty, the 5-year warranty, as opposed to the total price. Have you taken a close look at that, and why is it so much? Just based on percentage, how much that warranty costs in terms of the total investment, and why is it so much?
Well, I am not a telecom engineer, so I couldn't tell you exactly, what the line item is in that overall price. But I can say that this is, compared to where we're at, a relatively sophisticated system. And at least at the moment, we do not possess I don't want to say the talent, the ability in-house to manage this system the way that we hope to be able to in the future as we ramp up our IT infrastructure and have the tools to be able to be less reliant on Clever to do a lot of the maintenance that we would like to do internally. But in terms of the nuts and bolts, I don't know if there's anyone else that can answer how we got to that.
I'll just come up. Good afternoon, Dexter Corbin, Director of IT. So today, for the current CADI-VL system that we have, we pay about $170,000. With this, after the ongoing cost, it's going to be like $150 around there. So it's actually cheaper than what we pay today. Yeah.
So right now, just based on raw numbers, we're going to be paying about, of the total cost of the 6.1 million. That's not including the contingency of the 6.1 million with 500 and something thousand for a warranty. It's about 13% of that number. After the 5 years, what happened?
So after the 5 years, the ongoing cost is about $150,000, right? You can add on a 3% annual cost onto that per year.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we usually pay for software agreements today. Yeah,
Thank you.
which is cheaper than what we pay with the old system. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Keep in mind that warranty is also maintenance support. So it's not, we got hung up on the word warranty last meeting. So it is maintenance and support going forward. So it's, you look at it on an annualized basis, it's not too bad. Any other comments or questions?
I was just going to ask, when can we expect this to be implemented if it was approved?
Timeframe?
I believe our latest schedule that we have from Clever is 24 months.
Could take 24 months to implement?
Wow.
Sorry. 24 months.
Okay. It's going to be a while. Okay, but the pass-through of the grant money is a key factor with this. So we need to get this done for safety issues. I mean, we've had paratransit bus that disappeared for a while several years ago. And
Yeah, and the main thing really is the obsolescence of the existing radio equipment. It's, we have got people back at 21st doing amazing things in closets, putting components together that you can't even buy on eBay anymore. It's really, and I'm not exaggerating, it's gotten to that point.
well, thank you for the presentation. Do you have anything you would add?
And I would say, I fully support this. I've been talking about this for years now, that we need to do this, knowing that the timeline was 24 months. We can't wait. Our existing system is antique, analog, and at the time, I think we purchased it for about $9 million. So this system's a bargain for us.
We can only have so many tin cans and strings going to all the buses. Is there a motion to recommend to the HART Board of Directors to approve item 5A and advance to the full HART Board of Directors to the September 23rd, 2024 Board of
So moved.
Directors regular meeting?
Second.
So motion is second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Is there any old business? Appearing to be none, any new business? I want to thank the committee members for sticking around, Mr. Drainville, and especially the staff. We appreciate the presentation, the pizza, the whole 9 yards. So thank you very much. It sounds like the rain stopped. It's probably a good time for us to get out of here. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.